Okay, well, my next guest says if media companies want to keep ad revenue flowing, they need to shift to newer social media models. He's Miles Nadal, known as a Madison Avenue deal maker, and is chief executive of one of the largest advertising and marketing conglomerates, MDC Partners, visiting from Toronto, heading to Palm Beach. So not a good, not a bad stopover here in New York on your way down there.
Thank you.
Okay, so Miles, put this all in perspective, because it's not just about social media, but it's just about advertising moving in general. You've got the NBC Comcast deal. You've got that news about Rupert Murdoch possibly moving his websites or his content from Google to Microsoft. And then you've got a raft of other maneuverings in the media world. I mean, what is all of this really about when it comes to advertising?
Well, first of all, you have to distinguish between those transactions that are good for the media companies themselves, and that's what's good for the agencies or also ultimately the marketing companies to the consumers. The brand building pendulum has moved from persuasion from traditional media to influence from trusted sources such as YouTube and MySpace and social media. There's a huge movement of marketing firms to drive return on marketing investment. So we've gone from one to many to one to one. So more that marketers can target specific audiences and get tangible, measurable return on investment.
Is it paying off, though?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. And the firms that are able to create actionable strategies that drive increasing return on marketing investment are going to capture more and more share.
So who's going to win out on that then?
Well, ultimately, there are three areas of real big growth in the advertising industry. First of all, blogging, social media, big growth. Interactivity, the notion of being able to have an interactive dialogue between the marketer and the consumer back to the marketer, very important. And that's why digital is growing so rapidly. It's about 13% of all marketing spending today, expected to grow to about 30% over the next 10 years. And the third area of growth is going to be the whole area of data analytics, data mining, and database marketing. Anything that gives greater consumer insight and the ability to target the message to the consumer and get the measurable impact of the ability to sort of monetize interactions is going to be key for marketers as they put more and more dollars to work in that regard.
But is it so much that, I mean, when we're talking about tailoring the advertising to that consumer then, is it so much that it's more of a relationship to the product, or is it just that you know which products you want to target to whoever's using these social media sites?
All the above. All the above. I think Twitter has become so popular because there's still a culture of celebrity that exists in the world. People want to get close to Oprah.
That hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed. In fact, it's growing in popularity. I think, though, that the idea of being able to target to specific customers, there's a famous expression, I know 50% of my advertising doesn't work, I just don't know which 50%. Marketers really want to target and understand where they're getting their bang for their buck. There's also, because consumer spending has declined, I think we've gone from the age of conspicuous consumption to the age of frugality. So both consumers and marketing firms themselves want a bigger bang for their buck.
Now, does this mean then that traditional advertising, I'm talking about advertising on TV, on magazines, newspapers, that is basically dying? That's not rebounding the way it was before.
I wouldn't say it's dying, but it's certainly declining. And
it's not going to come back, though.
Well, in 1952, in terms of penetration, in 1952, NBC was able to reach 30% of all households in America. Okay, in 2007, 2008, they're able to reach 5.2%. So there is a fragmentation of media, and there's more and more movement toward segmented marketing and strong verticals where you have specific audiences that you're able to target, and they specifically have demographic and psychographic interests. The consumer marketing companies want to find those verticals where they can get the greatest return on their investment. In terms of the media companies, the revenue models are obviously challenged. And so I think they need to find ways of both being able to cut costs at traditional media, but also find other alternative revenue streams.
Right, and we found that some of these alternatives are actually much cheaper than what they've done before, so that's certainly a help there.
Absolutely.
Okay, Miles, we're out of time, but thank you so much for stopping by again. Miles Nadal of MDC Partners.